Hello, everyone, and welcome to the High Sensitivity Podcast, episode 100.
Woo!
That's right, we've been doing this for 100 episodes, and thank you for listening. Even though it's not our anniversary, that's the next podcast, 101, I guess.
Yep.
And we just want to say, and we're gonna get quick into it, is that even if you're listening on episode 1 or episode 100, or you've listened to all of them, or this is your first one, thank you for listening. We really do appreciate it, and means the world that you're even willing to take an hour or an hour and a half, depending on how our specials go, out of your day to listen to it. So from Craig and I, thank you a lot. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it means a lot. Hanging around for 100 episodes if you're there from the beginning is pretty cool.
Yeah. And if it is your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news as well as what we watched or played over the week. I said earlier, my name is Barry, along with my co host.
My name is still Craig 100 episodes later. Hasn't changed.
Yep. And this is kind of like the end of season 2, and then season 3 starts next week. So maybe we change our names. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, we could do that.
So let's get into the news. I guess we should probably start with the biggest of all things, in that Russia is getting punished for
Yeah.
invading Ukraine by many companies here. For example, we have EA suspending sales, which, whoa, that to EA
That's
not
huge.
saying yes to money, that's a lot. And on top of that, the Russian teams from games like FIFA and NHL have been taken out of the game entirely. So it's one thing to pause sales, but like if you're like if your favorite team national team is Russia, like I don't know. It's kind of a murky kind of gray water here. I'm not sure how you feel about it, but EA is just wrong.
Um, I think if I lived in Russia, right, and I was opposed to the war that's going on, the invasion, and being like myself enjoyed video games, I would be irritated,
Yeah.
right? That like pretty much every way for you to get video games has been taken away. I think Microsoft suspended sales as well in Russia, last I heard. Um, I don't know about Sony, but yeah, I mean, I would be kind of irritated, but I think I err more on the side of being okay with it, just because it's literally almost every company trying to figure out a way to end the invasion that's going on, the war between Russia and Ukraine. And I don't know that game sales are going to hurt the Russian government, but it definitely helps the common people realize that, like, hey, maybe we should, speak out a little bit. I don't know how much you're allowed to in Russia, actually, but
Well, they have
you
been,
know,
at least,
yeah,
yeah. According to a lot of news sites, there are a lot of peaceful protests, despite the
hmm
fact that there are sanctions coming down on the people who've been anti-war. But
right,
I did mention that EA is just a small part. Nintendo is pausing all digital sales and sales of their
hmm
consoles. CD Project Red is also suspending sales. So while you are right that like the video game sales probably isn't going to do much in the terms
hmm
of hurting Russian wallets, it just goes to show that like in an age where like kind of doing something and get you canceled, or get people mad at you for like the tiniest thing, it's kind of strange to see a bunch of companies go, okay, let's say no to an entire market of people and pause our sales. Like,
yeah,
it's a really definitive and showing way of these companies kind of going in support of like, hey, we don't support what Russia did.
right. It's a good way for them to show support for Ukraine, and yeah, I mean, I'm totally behind it.
Yeah, so am I.
Also tied into that a little bit, the development of Stalker 2 has been put on hold
Yeah, I did see that.
because of everything going on as well. I mean, this is a game that's been kind of in development hell for a little bit anyway. It keeps getting pushed back. So I don't know. Last time I checked, I think it was supposed to be the end of this year. I think if that's correct. So who knows if it even makes that now. This could be another year or two out at this point. But just more of stuff getting affected by everything going on. I was like moderately excited to play Stalker 2. It's not going to like kill me that it's not going to be here this fall or winter, but I know there's a decent amount of people who enjoy the Stalker series, so it's kind of big news.
I'd like to try the Stalker series.
Right.
These games were never, for me, but like Metro Exodus, I feel like really got me into that sort of game. So I
hmm
I'm feeling I'll like Stalker.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Speaking of delays, we have co-op and Halo Infinite has been delayed. It was originally announced that it would be at the start of season 2 of Halo, which looks like it would have been the beginning of May, and they've delayed it without a date. So everybody who's been kind of, thinking about playing co-op or Forge, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, and who knows how long at this point. You saw the massive delay Halo Infinite got put into. I can't imagine, it's not beyond them to delay it probably an entire year.
Yeah. Yeah, this might be another instance kind of like Cyberpunk, where when it actually comes out, is anybody really going to care anymore?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know how many people are still playing the Master Chief Collection and going back and playing through those. But I mean, you and I have both been done with Halo Infinite for a while, and I don't really have any reason to go back to it. I probably would have tried out co-op if it was coming out soon, but if it's like a year or so away, I probably won't touch it.
No, I absolutely agree. Like it's just funny how like little I've thought about Halo since beating the since
Yeah.
since
And
beating
we had it high on our list, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. But I guess that's the way it goes. You move on to other things and kind of forget about what you played last
Yeah,
year.
especially with the games that have come out this February and the games that are coming out
Yeah.
this March as well.
Yeah. Smaller news that I have here is Smash Brothers will not be at Evo this year. How do you feel about that?
It's kind of sucks, but I also
Yeah.
know that there's been a lot of streamers who've been doing kind of their own sort of tournaments. We have, Moist Critical on Twitter or Penguin Zero on YouTube. Like he's been hosting tournaments. Ludwig, a popular streamer as well, has been hosting tournaments. And I have a feeling that like, yes, Evo is kind of the biggest name attached to it. These tournaments do well
Okay.
for the streamers. So I think Smash is still getting its competitive scene there. Of course, Evo usually probably is the biggest prize pool of them all.
Right.
It's we still have to see whether or not this has to do anything with Nintendo kind of banning their games and mods. And the way they used to play competitively, you had to mod it. Now Nintendo doesn't allow that anymore, so I don't know whether or not it's to get back at them for that. But Smash is done with the characters. We already have all the
Right.
characters and everything, so it's a completed
Yeah, and
game.
I didn't look at the list. I don't know if they put one up yet for Evo, but like what is left? I know that Street Fighter in general was kind of looked down upon. Street Fighter was at 5. And I know we had Street Fighter 6 announced, but Street Fighter 5 wasn't received well. So what would Evo have? Mortal Kombat, maybe Street Fighter.
Probably
I don't know what else
Tekken,
is
Mortal
Tekken,
Kombat. Yeah, you said Mortal Kombat. Yeah,
Blaze Blue, maybe.
yeah,
I don't know what's still popular at this point.
yeah. Blaze Blue. Yeah, there are a couple of like, especially like anime fighting games. There's a ton of them.
I know Dragon Ball Z is still popular, right?
Dragon Ball Z. I would wonder whether or not they're doing a Demon Slayer one because you remember the Demon
Yeah.
Slayer game was
Yeah.
released. So there's a lot of fun to be
That
had
could be
with that.
interesting.
Next up on my list, and very little known game, not that popular. Pokemon had its direct and announced that it was going to be introducing Generation 9, Scarlet
Yeah.
and Violet, and they show the 3 starter Pokemon. Have you seen the picture?
Yeah.
If you had to pick, which one are you getting?
I don't remember their names, but I usually go grass type anyway.
Okay, I'm a grass type too, and I was getting the
Yeah.
grass cat anyway. So
Yeah.
it,
Grass cat.
yeah, I don't actually remember grass cat's name, but like it's funny because I remember Fuecoco is the fire, is the
Mhm.
fire type, and I think like Quetzal is the duck, which is just gonna be named Donald Duck in every playthrough because
Yep.
it's not far off, but. Uh,
Were you as surprised as I was that they announced this already and it's
yes,
coming out this
yeah,
year?
I am. Just based on the usual timelines, I think people were expecting a Let's Go
Hmm.
with the Johto series, whether it was Let's Go Pichu or something like that, or anything with the second gen, or even remakes of Black and White at that point. But I was gonna say it kind of stirred a lot of conversation to see we're not usually used to getting two major of Pokemon IPs come out with Arceus and with Scarlet and Violet. But I think in a lot of ways this is a genius move by Pokemon. Like, to be fair, by the time Scarlet and Violet comes out, I don't think we'll really be talking about Arceus very much
Probably
anymore.
not.
And while definitely Scarlet and Violet look to build on what Arceus formula maybe was, especially with a lot more of like trainer battling and whatnot, I I think they're just trying to springboard off of the excitement that Arceus brought. Arceus was reviewed very well and is selling extremely well still. And I think they just go to, okay, if we have ideas and the Pokemon are there for Gen 9, then let's release it. And I think that's where Pokemon is right now.
Yeah, and it kind of seems like it's a hybrid of both, right? A
Yeah.
little bit of Arceus and a little bit of the older style, which could be more up my alley, right? Since Arceus wasn't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I was just kind of surprised it was coming out already, but I'm not like I'm not going to play it. I'm going to play it.
No,
I
yeah,
think everybody is.
yeah, like I'll admit I was surprised because I expected, and they didn't say much about what was going to happen. I expected almost like a Detective Pikachu 2 because that
Yeah.
movie did do well as well. But, and especially how it started with the weird cop like trailer. I'm not sure if you watched it, but like it was just like a security guard going through like a random like almost hotel or business of some sort, and then being blinded by the light of Scarlet and Violet. I don't know. It was a really weird trailer. It was definitely weird. But
Yeah, I didn't watch the full thing. I just kind of like skimmed through it. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll have more for us, probably E3 time. And hopefully something on Breath of the Wild, I would hope.
yeah, we have to hear about Breath of the Wild. We have to.
Yep. Yeah, they have to. They can't keep putting it off.
Yeah.
So my last piece of news, I didn't have a whole lot this week, but it's kind of a question for you. This week was the 5-year anniversary of the Switch, right?
Yes. Yep.
So we came up on the 5-year anniversary. So the question for you is, if you want to do 2 or 3 or 5, give me your top games on the Switch off the
Okay.
top of your head.
Okay. I can do this.
That way you don't have to think about it too hard. Just give me like however many.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like what games I definitely put the most hours into. And I feel like
Like if somebody was buying one today, like these are the ones you have to get.
exactly. So I think Super Smash Brothers is
Okay.
definitely like in there in the top 5. I'm not going to go I'm going to go top 5, but I'm not going to name which ones because it kind of
Sure.
depends on the type of gamer you are where Smash may not interest you at all for
Mhm.
that. I then would probably go with Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword because I really love that one, and on the Switch it's pretty good.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like making it like pretty spread out here because
Yeah.
like I liked Sword and Shield, so I would tell you to pick Sword and Shield or Arceus for that matter. I wouldn't go both.
Mhm.
And then Fire Emblem Three Houses, have to have that in there. I wouldn't be Barry if I didn't put a Fire Emblem game in there.
Yep.
And Pokemon Snap because I
See,
love
that's what I
that
thought.
game. I love that.
I thought Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Sword and Shield, um, Mario Kart, even though that's a remake,
Mario
I think
Kart,
that's
yeah, sorry, that should
you,
definitely be in there.
you have to put it on there. I wouldn't put Smash on there just because, like you said, I think it's more of a you have to like that type of game. But as much as I hate it, I think you have to put Breath of the Wild on there. I
Yeah,
think you
the
do.
thing is, it would either like I already have a Zelda game on mine, so like
Yeah.
I could switch out Super Smash Brothers with Animal Crossing, just because that
Okay.
also
Yeah.
was a very like that game was also
I
very
forgot.
popular, and it goes to show like the top games on there, of course, on the Switch are going to be all the exclusive ones
Right.
primarily. Like Nintendo does their exclusives better than anybody else, so and they're the most name brand reputable ones that there are.
True. And take note, Nintendo, neither one of us said Xenoblade Chronicles, so stop making those games, please.
Look, they're huge in Japan, so like I
They
get it,
are.
I
They
get
are.
it, and they have their own like JRPG, which you know, f- with Final Fantasy, going to be on PlayStation for the most part, and you have
Mhm.
Xbox then with like, okay, what do we get, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it makes
I'm
sense.
sure they have some sort of JRPG cooking in one of their 10,000 studios at Xbox right
Yeah,
now.
probably. So, a couple other smaller news stories then from my end. Resident Evil 2, 3, and 7 are getting next gen upgrades. I don't know how much better those games are going to look, to be honest, but I think 7 might be the one that kind of gets the biggest boost out of them all. But
Yeah.
good for Resident Evil, and all the next gen upgrades are free. So good on their part for that as well. The Steam Deck is getting tiered emails out. There are a lot of reviews for the Steam Deck, and a lot of them are mixed, and a lot of it, show that it's a very capable console with all bugs and whatnot and all. But people pre-ordered it, and I don't think Steam kind of recognized how popular it was, but because they're sending them out in waves. So like there's like wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3 of like if you haven't gotten your email yet, it's because you're probably in tier or like wave 2 or 3 of the Steam Deck. So I have no idea how far like these gaps are in between each other, but it kind of sucks for people because this was something that was like just announced, and if you pre-ordered it, you're kind of hoping to get it on release day, and now to find out that you may not be getting it for another 2 or 3 months depending on what wave you're in is kind of a bummer as a consumer.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if I would have pre-ordered that and then I found out like, oh, you're in wave 3, so even though you pre-ordered it, you're going to get it 3 or 4 months later, I would be pissed.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of reminds me of when the Xbox and PlayStation consoles came out. There's a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
When you pre-ordered, there was some wave issues, but not to this extent.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And then other than that, Gran Turismo comes out, another racing game exclusive to the PlayStation reviews. Well, sitting in at 88 on Metacritic. And something we'll be talking about later, the Batman comes out and is sitting at a 73 on Metacritic.
Yeah.
I watched the Batman, so we
Okay.
will get into reviews as well.
And I played Gran Turismo. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. See, we got it all covered here.
Yep. Yep.
But talking about games and whatnot, let's go ahead and talk about the games for this week.
Sure.
Which for me is going to be Triangle Strategy, playable on the Switch,
Okay.
and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands demo.
Yes, I forgot to download that and play it. Like I said, I did play some Gran Turismo, and I know this will be the third week I've talked about it, but I did finish Horizon.
Okay.
I'm done.
Cool.
So I'm excited that it's done.
Yeah. Hopefully for good reasons, but I guess I'll find out here.
Yeah.
So, out of all the games we talked about, the only one that's not really a full-fledged game is Kirby. So I'll talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Lands demo. Surprise drop. And what I will say is it's kind of an interesting game. It seems to borrow in Super Mario Odyssey, and where it's kind of an open world, because for Kirby it's usually a side scroller in some way, but it's kind of like a flow to the levels that you kind of go through and use your powers for in the demo. It's still not exactly clear like what is going on or what you're really doing there for, but a couple things is the game, it does seem to translate well to like the free roaming aspect. I want to almost compare it to 3D Mario World. I feel like
so it's open world, kind of.
There's not like, from what I can tell, it's kind of like you go through the level, like they're kind of all interconnecting right now in a way.
Okay.
I didn't get far enough in the demo to see if there's a map or something like that, or an overworld that you see, but it looks to me like, especially in the demo, it's kind of, I guess, the opening couple minutes of the game where it's kind of like the levels flow into each other and you go along with it. One thing that I haven't talked about that game is it looks actually really good, and that's saying something on the Switch. Like, I'm playing it on handheld, and I'm kind of surprised with how well it's running and how good it looks. I need to plug it up to my TV and see how it looks there, but surprisingly, like, Kirby looks good, and it makes me feel like, why can't everybody do this? Why can't everybody make a good looking game on the Switch? But make sure to play it out for yourself. Play it for yourself. See what you guys think, because it is an interesting and different new way to play Kirby, for sure.
Okay. Nintendo for sure has secrets with their console that they're not telling people to get more out of the console. I'm convinced. Because every game most games, not every game, but most game, they find a way to make it look better than any other third party can. I mean, Sony does that too with their first party games.
Yeah.
And Xbox to a certain extent, but Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try it. I just totally forgot. I saw the demo came out and I was like, oh, I gotta download that, and then I totally forgot. But I have not liked a Kirby game in a long time, so maybe the change will help me out a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, what do we
Uh,
want to talk about?
why I was gonna say, why don't you talk about Horizon? Because we have talked about that for the
Okay,
past couple weeks.
okay. So I'm done with Horizon. Um, I think I clocked in around 45 hours
Okay.
ish. Um, I didn't do everything. I did a lot of the side quests, but I kind of abandoned um, the tall necks. I didn't really do those.
Yeah.
The I forget what they're called, but like the relic places you're supposed to go explore. I didn't do those at
Cauldrons.
all. Maybe I don't remember. There's just a lot on the quest menu that I was like, nope, not
There
doing that,
definitely
not
is.
doing that. Yeah, and they just keep adding, and I was like, nope, not doing that. Um, I will say to kind of sum it all up, since we've already talked about it a bunch. Consistently made me go, man, this game looks incredible.
Yeah.
It's beautiful constantly. Like the whole time I'm playing it, man, like this is just insanely detailed. Uh, the game itself loves to hear itself talk, and that back half, 2/3 is a drag. It kind of overstays its welcome a bit.
Okay.
So that's why when I got past, you collect, I don't want to spoil anything, but like you're collecting 3 things, right?
Hmm.
And you go and do all that. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to, this has to be near the end. Nope, it's not. So I kind of, at that point, I kind of started abandoning a lot of the side missions and stuff. And I was like, all right, let me get through this, because otherwise I'm going to be here for another 30 hours and I don't want to be. Um, Consistent issues for me, gameplay wise, and hopefully with like updates and stuff that'll make it better. I was having issues with the audio not working.
Oh, okay.
um so like I would get half the dialogue would be spoken, the other half their mouths were moving but no audio. And I had to physically close the game 3 times for it to fix itself.
Oh.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere and it stuck around for a couple hours. So I mean that's something that can get ironed out and it'll be fine. uh the only other thing I want to say is the ending of this game, and I'm not going to spoil anything, is a massive dud.
That's what I hear. I've been reading like
Oh,
there are a lot of
dear
duds
Lord.
apparently about how the
Woo!
ending is disappointing.
Here's the thing, and like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything for people who haven't beaten it, but if you go into a game, and the one that comes to mind is Mass Effect 2 for me, which is a great game. And same thing with Horizon. This is a great game. But if you know that you're making another one after this, it kind of makes everything you did in the second game worthless.
Okay.
So like you're going through and you're like, all right, the basic premise is I got to get this stuff because I'm going to heal Earth. This is that's her whole goal, Aloy's whole goal. You do all this, you're getting ready, you get to the end, you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. And then something else is, presented, and you're like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe that's like another boss battle I got to get through or something. That's kind of how it's presented. And then pretty quickly you realize, oh no, this is just what the angle is and what the villain is going to be in a third game.
Okay.
And everything I just did in this entire second game means nothing at
Oh,
all.
okay.
Like it's just like, okay, I just spent 45 hours of filler pretty much on this game. Not that it's not a good game, because it is a good game, but I feel like I did nothing.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, I get it. You wanted to make a trilogy. That's fine. But you still got to find a way to kind of tie it up better, so you feel like you're accomplishing things. And I just didn't. I think overall final score, I think I would go 7,
Okay.
because it's still a good game. It's fun to play. There's a lot of good characters, but man, that ending was bad.
Yeah, the ending is paramount, as I've said
It's
I've said
bad.
many times, and to hear that is kind
Yep.
of disheartening. I'll still play it
Yeah.
regardless because I love it.
Oh
But
yeah. I think people should still play it, and I think when the third one comes out, it's going to be good,
mhm.
right? I mean, it says something that I finished this one and I didn't the first one.
Yeah, you're absolutely
So I
right.
mean, it definitely kept me entertained. But man, what a letdown that ending was.
Yeah, well, I haven't gotten to the end of Triangle Strategy yet, but right now that game is not a letdown. It is
Good.
beautiful in its own right, in its kind of 8-bit art, where it's 8-bit characters in a 3D background. Triangle strategy, and this is a game that isn't going to get a lot of hyper news, is a lot like a Fire Emblem game in a way, where it is grid based combat and strategy, hence the strategy portion of things. And what this game touts is that your decisions are very much very impactful to how the game and the story will play out. And based on what I've seen so far, it's actually very in depth. Uh, this game is kind of the perfect sort of casualness that I like about these turn based games, but also has a deepening amount of decision making that makes your decisions feel like they matter. And how I kind of want to explain it is one, like Fire Emblem and the permadeath thing is always going to be something that like is a part of that series. Where this game, permadeath isn't an option. So if a character dies, they come back the next map. That's just how it works. Their XP when they die also carries over. So even if they level up and die, they still level up. The game kind of encourages you to use different units and play to your strengths and play to the map strength as well, because there are things like terrain advantages, just like in real war, where the higher ground usually ends up winning, and the archers and your placement of them play a very integral part of how the game plays. But it's also this perfect amount of like, okay, I get like the turn based stuff that I like, but also not the stress that comes with like playing a Fire Emblem game. And you can even change your difficulty mid map, so it's not like you're stuck on something. There's a lot of flexibility, and I feel like this is a great introduction game to people who want to get into strategy type games. There is a lot of talking. I will say though that the almost everything is voice lined. Almost like very small conversations are not, but almost everything is voice lined, and the decision making aspect is actually really cool. So at certain parts in the at certain parts of the story so far, you get to go into like almost a courtroom type thing, and everybody kind of tells you what their stance is, and then you as the player get to choose what your vote is. And even before you get to vote, you can go and talk to the units beforehand, and sometimes you can like with your dialogue options you can even change their minds about a decision, which almost feels like it's almost like a Phoenix Wright type of thing, where you're kind of like picking the right dialogue to get them to change their mind, and that can swing a vote in a way. It's almost like playing politician, but not
Okay.
as boring, and definitely not as frustrating as politicians can sometimes be. So overall I really enjoy this game. I think the characters all have like this Game of Thrones types feel to it, to where there are houses and it's taking place in kind of a kingdom, almost like Game of Thrones does. And the decisions you make can sometimes be morally right, or you also do something that's like morally wrong but gives you the advantage. Like you get to kind of customize how you want to do things, and based on those decisions you actually feel like what you picked mattered. uh like I'm not trying to like spoil anything in the decision making because it's up to you to do it, but there are quests or objectives in a map where it wants you to like sneak by an area, and if you pick the right major decisions, it's not like you can actually sneak by without ever getting in combat and get to the next level. Whereas in Fire Emblem, they'll give you these objectives, but there's always going to be sneak out or something like that to the exit of the map, but there's always going to be some sort of fighting in there, and you can fight these people if you want, but you don't have to. I i really like the choice and the customization that this game gives you, and I feel like this is a great game for somebody who maybe wants to like try it but not get into all the mechanics that Fire Emblem can really throw at somebody and not really understand, especially considering that you don't even have to worry about the romance portion of things. So
That's your favorite though.
yes, I do like that portion of things, but it is nice to go back to square one sometimes, or to a more
Mhm.
simpler time, and just see the game as as a simple strategy game where it's not all about, worrying about losing my favorite unit or something, or even a lot of the times in Fire Emblem games, like a character can get so overpowered that you just use that one unit to destroy everything. Where in this game, like you can have an overpowered unit, but the enemies seem to be able to pick that out, and like you could set traps. Like that's not something you really do in Fire Emblem, to where you'll step on a hidden trap and your character's suddenly asleep, and then they're gonna gang up on you and then do a ton of damage. So I that's what I mean. Like I really enjoy the creativity that this game's giving you, and also making you feel like, one, if you have the advantage, you get to keep it, and if you're at the disadvantage, you feel like you're on your heels.
Okay. The one question I had about this game, and I've had
I
it since
cannot
they.
hear you. That might be my bad again. Give me 1 second.
Oh, yep.
Could you talk for me?
No, checked.
Yeah, go ahead. It's because I
Check.
talked too long. Go ahead.
Episode 100. We still have the
Well,
issues. It's fine.
episode 100, and I still talk for too long that my mic mutes itself.
All right. So the one question I had about this game, and I've had it since I was first announced and I first heard of it, is there a reason explained for the title of this game? Because this title sounds like a work in progress title to me.
And to be honest, it like the only real triangle part of things is your decisions are based in like a triangle where it's like morale, like
Okay.
morality, conviction, and like there's three different colors that go over like the three different kind of ways you can make a decision. Uh,
Okay.
but there was an article that came out that the creator said like, "Hey, we know it's a weird title. Like they
Yeah.
understand that it's a weird title."
Yeah. It just always seemed to me that they were like, I don't know what to call this game. Why don't we just call it Triangle Strategy Game?
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
just
you're
how
not
it
wrong.
came across. But I guess that works if you want to keep it. These games have always been like, I just can't get into that style of combat, like the grid based combat. I've never been able to do. Like I want to like these games. It's just something about that combat I can't get
Yeah,
into.
it's not for
Maybe
everybody. Yeah,
yeah.
you almost like, and I don't even like chess, to be
Hmm.
honest. I guess because I don't or I don't know all the rules and whatnot. But it feels like you have to enjoy that type of thing, where you have to enjoy like getting the satisfaction of placing your units in the right spot and taking advantage of that.
That's fair. Yeah, it seems like I was definitely interested in the game. I don't know if I'll actually try it or not. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a game that like 6 months from now is like $20.
maybe, or it's going to be something like this is made from the developer of Octopath Traveler. It's going to be
Okay.
something where it actually keeps its value because there's not many in circulation. Like
Yeah.
I haven't seen this game really out on store shelves. To be
Me
fair,
neither. Yeah.
I had to order this game to get it on time. So
Okay.
it's that's something to think about. Especially it happened with Octopath Traveler, but that game was so popular that like it was running into issues getting in production and getting enough of them out there. So I'd be in
Yeah, you could not find that game,
yeah.
Octopath Traveler, when it came out.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe that might actually be the same issue that Triangle Strategy has, but we'll see.
Okay. Gran Turismo 7.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. So Gran Turismo is, I feel like it's been overshadowed the past, what, 10 or so years
Yeah.
by Forza.
Yep.
It used to be like the pinnacle of racing games. It's just the one you bought. I will say, first and foremost, Sony, again, will you please get your install download figured out, please? Because this game, oh dear Lord, it took like 6 hours
Really?
to install. It was insane. So you put like, I have the physical version. So you put the disc in and it installed for me in like 20 minutes, which is about normal for a PlayStation game. I boot it up because it says it's ready. And then it says, all right, it's still downloading, but you can play this what they call music mode on 3 different tracks. I was like, okay. So I played all 3 tracks and then I was like, let me see how much time's left. And I pulled up 4 hours. I was like, what? So it's something with Sony's server issue, but all that aside, once it's fully installed, um, I have like a soft spot for this game on like the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 era of my
Yeah.
life. I played a ton of it, and seeing the same tracks that I played then was really cool for me. And seeing like the difference in graphics from PlayStation 2 up till now, this game looks gorgeous,
Okay.
absolutely gorgeous. It gives you the option to either do like the 60 frames per second or 30 frames with ray tracing. I would recommend 30 frames with ray tracing because it looks beautiful. But if you really want like that pinnacle of uh I don't know, play style, then I guess you go 60 frames. But for me, I was more concerned about it looking good.
Yeah.
The cars are phenomenal. There's some interesting issues, and I know I was reading an article on GameSpot where they were talking about like the McLaren. The latest McLaren they have on there is from like 5 years ago.
Are you serious? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like there's some issues with like some of the newer cars they don't have the newest version of the Tesla for some reason. They have the one before that. And again, that could be something that's just a product of how long this game took to make. Because this thing has been in production for, I think it's been pushed back, what, like 2 or 3 years at this point?
Yeah, I think you're right.
But the game still handles fantastic. It looks fantastic. For me, it was a nice break from, I know we all love Forza and like the open world aspect. It was kind of nice to go back to just picking a car, picking a track, and going.
Yeah.
That was nice. So I don't think it's going to be like, this isn't going to be on anybody's top game of the year at all. But I think if you're looking for a good old school type racing game, this is going to be the one to get. It's not going to sell any PlayStation 5s, but I really enjoy it so far. I think it's very well done.
Yeah, I'm gonna be getting it. I'm waiting for my copy in the mail.
Yeah.
But
And then wait another 6 hours for it to install.
yeah, but luckily I got a bunch of games on PlayStation to play already, so I will just
Mm-hmm.
continue to work on that. So that's gonna be it for games. We
Yeah.
now kind of hit the lull in games for a little bit until like
Mm-hmm.
March 25th, which is when like Kirby comes
Whoa,
out.
whoa, whoa! You're forgetting. You're forgetting. Next week is the pinnacle of gaming.
All right.
WWE 2K22.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see about that. We'll see because they're
Listen, my copy will be here Tuesday, and then I'll have plenty of time to have a full impression for
oh
everybody.
good. Look at that. Imagine
Yep.
releasing a game on Tuesday. Who would have thought?
Well, you have to pay more.
Yeah, I have to pay more to
You have
get
to
it.
pay $100 instead of 70.
Jesus. But
Anyway, go ahead. What were you saying about the lulls? Because you're not wrong.
yeah. But let's go ahead and get into movies this week then. For me, I've been on a kind of an HBO Max kick where I've been
Okay.
watching the Studio Ghibli movies. Yeah, I'm watching anime.
Oh.
That's not surprising at all. I
Okay.
watched Spirited Away, which I hadn't seen Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. I've now watched both. I rewatched Princess Mononoke, and the big talk right now is I watched the Batman yesterday with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited about that because I've talked to 4 people yesterday who have
mhm.
seen it, and they were so all over the place on their thoughts on that movie. But I watched Scream, the latest Scream.
Okay,
We had the season finale of Righteous Gemstones season 2 this past week. I watched that, and then I found a movie that I had no idea came out in 2019 called Spree that I need to talk about.
do you
So what do you
want to
want to do
talk about
first?
Spree first?
Yes, let's do Spree. Okay, so I was on a weird kick. I had watched Scream, right? And I'll get into that later. And I was on a kick of watching older horror movies from like when I was a teenager. And I rewatched all the Final Destination movies because those are like the pinnacle of my, not childhood, but teenage years. And those have not aged well. But I was kind of looking at lists of people's like top horror movies, and Spree was on a bunch of them. And I'm like, I have never heard of this movie ever. Came out in 2019. It stars I gotta look up his name, Joe Keery, who's from Stranger Things. If you see Stranger Things, but basically what it is he's not an Uber driver. It's called a spree driver. Um, so he's a spree driver, and his entire life he's been trying to get famous on the internet, and he has not been able to do so. He has a friend friend in quotation marks, but a kid that he babysat who is a teenager now, who is super popular on, obviously they don't call it YouTube, but super popular live streamer, right? So he's trying to come up with this way to become popular on the internet. And he comes up with what he calls the lesson. And what it is he puts a bunch of GoPros in his car and he's going around picking up Ubers, their sprees in this movie. And they slowly kind of let you in on what he's actually doing. But they don't tell you what it is, but he's injecting something into water bottles, putting it in the back seat for these people he's picking up. They're drinking the water bottles and it's killing them. So he's literally live streaming himself murdering people in order to get famous. And it kind of goes out of control and like way out there. He starts like stalking somebody. It gets wild. It was a crazy good movie that I had never even heard of. I don't know if you really call it a horror movie. I guess it's more of like a thriller. You just kind of see him slowly spiraling more and more out of control. Obviously, he's already out of control because he came up with the idea of killing people. But yeah, it's a wild hour and a half. So I would recommend it. I believe it's on Hulu. You can watch it on there. But yeah, it was a crazy good movie, and I can't recommend it enough.
Okay. That is a strange movie. I thought it was going to be about
Yep.
the killer candy spree, but
Ooh, yes. That could be good too.
we get there. So I guess I'll talk about some of the older movies for me that I watched, which was
Sure.
Studio Ghibli. I have a feeling next week I'll have them all watched, and then I can give a ranking of them myself. But one thing I'll say about all three movies is that I'm really surprised with how good they look, despite the fact that they're all released in the early 2090s. These
Mhm.
movies aged incredibly well. Um,
Due to the animation being top notch.
yeah, due to the animation being top
Yep.
notch. I should
Yep.
also mention that the reason this happened, and I didn't mention this, I watched West Side Story because that was on HBO
Okay.
Max. Now I
Yep.
remember. That movie has a really depressing ending.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, I need to watch something happier. So I watched like Spirited Away instead. um, but
Okay.
yeah, like Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle both like have like this gorgeous animation work to them, and it's kind of funny to see like in Howl's Moving Castle, like there's a huge castle that moves, and you can tell that it's like a different animation type than anything else. And if anybody's seen like one of my favorite movies all time is Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and they do
Hmm.
like these weird like classic cartoon type things, and I can tell that castle is animated like that to show all of its moving parts without like doing some sort of weird 3D animation because that wasn't a thing back then. But like if and I get that animation and adult animation is something that not everybody's kind of like meh into, but like Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke like are like the top 3 Studio Ghibli movies for me, and I love all 3 of them. A part of me can't believe that I'm 27 years old and I've never watched Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away.
To be fair, they've been on my list forever, and I haven't watched any of them.
You really,
But I feel like I should.
yeah, Spirited Away is really good, and you know, like they're easy watches. I feel like
Hmm.
they don't require like a ton of thought like some of the other movies that come out or these deep meaningful things. It's just all about taking you to like this weird magical place. And
Okay.
I guess like I would tell you to watch Howl's Moving Castle because it has a lot of I think voice actors you'll recognize. Like I always
Okay.
forget that these guys get like ace actors to do their voice acting, and Howl, the witch or the magician, I should say, is voiced by Christian Bale. Batman.
Oh, cool.
Batman is the voice of Howl. So and his voice is just so smooth in it. It's a weird thing to say, but it really is like a good job on all parts by them. So definitely watch those.
Okay. Scream. You could do Scream. I feel like I feel like that's been coming. There was a Scream that came out a couple years ago as well, and I apologize, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it had to have been like 3 or 4 years ago at this point. But I was never a huge fan of Scream growing up. I think I watched them all, but they're kind of forgettable to me. But man, they've really come around, and they do such a great job of playing with the horror genre and breaking the fourth wall. Kind of, it's the most self-aware horror movie series you'll ever watch. They're constantly making jokes about how to survive in a horror movie, about like, oh, if you go down there, you're going to get killed, stuff like that. But man, this newest one was extremely well done. And if you haven't watched any of the Scream movies, I would recommend watching them all. I don't remember how many there are, probably like 4 or 5 at this point. But I was surprised with how good this is, and I won't spoil anything for anybody because the big point of these movies is always figuring out who the killer is in the ghost face mask. So yeah, I had a ton of fun with this one. I thought it was great.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like, I could have swore, like, have you been reading reviews for it? Like, it doesn't seem like it's getting very good reviews.
I want to say last I looked on like Rotten Tomatoes, it was in like the
Oh,
60s.
okay, so
So
it's
it's like slightly better than average, but yeah, I think they did a good job.
yeah. Scream's never been the type of movie for me, and you're not gonna get me to watch them. So, well,
I think if you were to ever decide to jump into horror movies, I think it's a good place to go because there's a lot of humor. I mean, obviously the kills are pretty bloody and gory, but
yeah.
like they do a good job of interjecting humor in there.
Okay. Well, I did mention it, and I should like say something about it. So, West Side Story, the 2021
Yes, I did
movie
watch it
here.
as well. I
So,
just forgot.
exactly, yeah. So, I didn't know that this was a retelling of a
Remake?
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Because I
Yes.
had I known that, the way the movie ends would have made a lot more sense. And I would have
Hmm.
expected it instead of like being absolutely like, what the heck did I just watch? Um,
Yeah.
the set pieces and the songs, like they're all like they're not necessarily catchy. In
Hmm.
a way, it's not like some of the other musical movies that have come out, like Hamilton and what was the other HBO Max movie that came
In the Heights.
In the Heights? Yes, they're not going
Yeah.
to be like the songs aren't as catchy as those, but the singing is really good.
Hmm.
The actor who plays Tony, Ansel Elgort, or sorry if I'm
Hmm.
butchering his name, and Rachel Zegler both have like really good singing chops. Like uh Maria, who's played by Rachel Zegler, like her voice is incredible. Like she's able to sing, do high notes, all that kind of, you know, singing stuff I guess that I don't really understand. But the I thought mostly all of the tracks and everything like that were good. The choreography was good. The movie can get a little bit boring for sure,
Yeah.
but now that I know it's inspired by Romeo and Juliet, I kind of liked like and I didn't watch it again, but I go back and like look at the movie and I'm like, "Oh, I guess I see where this comes up. This kind of matches up with Romeo and Juliet." It's it's a fun movie, but it's not like after the ending, you kind of don't think about it anymore. It's kind of a watch and forget in a way.
Yeah. And I think like there was an older version of this movie as well. Same thing. I don't remember when that West Side Story came out. It was a long time ago. Um, but I think when my problem is I compare it to musicals that have come out, like you said, Hamilton, In the Heights, Dear Evan Hansen, and like these musicals, the older style musical, which this is more about more dancing,
Yeah,
right? Which I'm not as big of a fan of in musicals. I prefer like give me those catchy songs. Like I feel like In the Heights for sure is like back to back bangers, right?
yeah,
You're just like, yeah, I get into this. And even like even though it's not technically a musical, like an Encanto, right?
yeah,
Like it's just you can really get into these songs. It's not the case with West Side Story, and I think people who love the original are going to be, really love this. But yeah, it was kind of forgettable for me, honestly.
yeah. I see that in a lot of ways. Like
Hmm.
for me, I was more interested because like yeah, in this movie, like they go hard in the Spanish. I will say,
Yeah.
like the whole other side of the movie is about like the Spanish people living in New York at this time, or the Puerto Ricanos, and it's they speak Spanish. Like there's almost like no subtitles.
Yeah.
Cuz like for me it's easier for me to read Spanish and like be able to translate it in my head afterward, and a lot of times the subtitles when they're speaking Spanish just go speaking Spanish instead
Yep.
of
I had no idea what they were saying a lot of the time.
yeah, which I really think that they probably should have like fixed that, or at least translated
Mhm.
it into subtitles so people could like look it up, or that the subtitles were translated into English, but that's not the case here.
Yeah.
For me I like the movie just because it has like that Spanish, part to it. But yeah, I could definitely see where you're right. Like the dancing definitely is like a big part of this movie. to where
Yep.
recently it's been more about like how good is the music and how much can you stream it on Spotify.
Yeah. That's smart.
Yeah, it
Smart
is.
way to put it. Yeah. It's just the older style of musical always had these big dancing numbers, and like they're impressive in this movie. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, and I do admit at 2.5 hours it's a little long.
Hmm.
It definitely is.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's tough, but I was really surprised by the lead actor and Ansel's singing talent.
Hmm.
He was in Baby
Yeah, Baby
Driver,
Driver.
and
Yep.
I just didn't think he could sing like that. He is a really good singer, so props to him. Just goes to show that like anybody can really sing well.
Yeah, he did a great job. I just hate his face. I really do. But yeah, he did a good
I
job.
feel bad for him.
Yeah. All right, so I'll just get Righteous Gemstones out of the way so we can get to Batman,
Yeah,
because I'm excited to see what you say here. But Righteous Gemstones season 2, another extremely good season. The last episode kind of feels like it was rushed in order to tie up all the loose ends here, but man, that show just continues to impress with how hilarious it is, and also how touching it can be at times. But yeah, incredible. Cannot recommend that show enough. Everybody should be watching
I
it.
really
I
should
don't think
be.
enough.
I
I
really
don't
should
think
be.
enough people are watching it. You could get through it pretty quickly now that both seasons are out there. But man, you do need to get on that. Everybody does.
Okay, cool. I do need to watch it. Like
Mhm.
a buddy of mine has also been talking about that show, so I really should watch it now that I've got two people recommending it.
Yeah.
But all
Give me
right,
the Batman. Give it to me.
The Batman, the movie coming
Yes.
in at 3 hour runtime. I didn't get
God.
up once to use the bathroom. I did it. I
Okay.
sat through it. I was empty for the entire movie.
Did you have a drink though when you were in there?
No, I knew it was three
That's
hours. I
smart.
wasn't.
That's
I
smart.
didn't need anything like 4 hours prior.
Did
I was built for
did you have
this.
food at
No, I didn't
least?
have food. I
Oof,
was
man, you were struggling.
I did it. I was not gonna leave that movie. I knew I was
Okay.
going to watch the entire thing. So let me get into it. I really
Sure.
liked this Batman film. I really
Okay.
did. Like, and I was talking to a buddy about it today. And I'm gonna compare it to Avengers Endgame because that is another 3 hour movie. To
Hmm.
where Avengers Endgame has like this really like all this exciting stuff, and then I kind of want to say the tone down or the boring stuff is during like the time traveling section of things, where
That's fair.
it's cool that like Marvel fans are excited that they're introducing the multiverse, blah blah blah, and traveling back in time, but like that can definitely be kind of the most boring part of a superhero movie, where the Batman really does, I think, well with its 3 hour runtime. Every time that the action slows down enough, it's paced really well to bring the action back up. And I know a lot of people were worried about how Pattinson was going to play Batman. I really like this depiction. He
Okay.
is he's like I'm gonna say it. He's a depressed emo boy, kind of throughout the whole thing. He speaks in this really grundled tone the entire time, but his Batman voice I think is good. The chemistry between him and Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is also a lot of fun. I just that I came into this movie not expecting a lot, and
Hmm.
I think it kind of blew my expectations out of the water. I stayed interested in the film for the entire 3 hours. The Riddler's villain is incredible. Uh,
Okay.
this rivals like the Joker in the Dark Knight. He is incredible in this movie, and like a couple of the things that I'll say is this movie is shot in three colors: black, brown, and a flashlight color, so white. Like a lot
Okay.
of the times you will be struggling to see what's going on. Like I imagine like in an IMAX theater or in Big D for AMC movie theaters, like it's gonna look really good, or
Hmm.
or you'll be able to see everything. But this movie definitely lacks like any type of vibrant color. I'm gonna be honest. Like there's no vibrant greens of grass or vibrant blue of sky. It's all very gray and dark, which I get is to like set the tone for the movie, but it's not necessary.
Hmm.
I would have liked to. I get you want to set the tone, but you could like change it up a little bit. Like you can, in order to bring back to bring me back, you could have like put in a bit more color, or like not had everything shot in the dead of night. Uh,
So is it more of just DC being dark like always
yeah,
then?
no, I want to say it
Yeah.
is because like the Dark Knight, a lot of people complained about how dark that was. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so nice to have a different superhero movie. Like especially like with Spider-Man, where we've kind of seen what the superhero movie is and the formula for it, and it kind of gets burned out in a lot of these movies when you don't have the mystical multiverse to kind of save you
Mm-hmm.
and bring people in on whether it's cameos or whether or not it's like time traveling aspects. It is really nice to have something that is dark and gritty and real. Like this Batman uses his gadgets to where I don't think you see many gadgets out of Ben Affleck's. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, he solemnly uses like Robert Pattinson solemnly uses his like batarang sort of thing. I really like the use of tools here that are realistic in a way as well. Like I'm gonna say like the movies I really liked it. It was a good movie and it has one of the best car chase scenes I've ever seen and ever seen. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are entire movies like the Fast and Furious dedicated to car scenes. This one like is amazing. It is awesome. And it's only like a quick 5 minute, 10 minute thing, but it is well worth it. Like the theater was shaking at this car scene.
There
Like
was I- if you go back to The Dark Knight, right?
yeah,
There was a very good chase car scene in that as well.
yeah.
You think it's better than that?
Yeah, I think it is. You'll see what I
Okay.
mean. I will
Okay.
admit the Batmobile looks lame. Like it
Okay.
looks
Yeah, it
lame.
kind of looks like a Mustang or
Exactly.
something.
That's all it looks like. It
Yeah.
looks like Batman stole Toretto, Don Toretto's Charger.
His Charger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and is now roaming around with it to bring the Fast and Furious series into it again. But I was engrossed for the entire 3 hours. Um, this Batman is more of a detective than any of the other Batmans we've seen, and the way people hit each other, the callbacks to other Batman series, like they're very slight, but you'll get it, are all very good.
Mhm.
I like there definitely is like 3 hours is a long movie, and at parts of it, I was like, man, like, are we gonna finally start like tying this thing up? But it is I kind of think it deserves the good reviews it's getting. Do I think it's this insane masterpiece? No, but I would rate it a 9 or 8 out of 10. Uh
Okay.
it engrossed me for a full 3 hours, and that says something to where I wasn't bored, and I didn't I even if I needed or had to go to the bathroom, I wouldn't have wanted to because I would have wanted to see what this had to do. Uh I think I think the way he does Batman was clever in his first Batman film, but we need to see where, if there is another one, where they decide to take Robert Pattinson's Batman from here.
Okay. So everybody holds The Dark Knight as the pinnacle, right? So where does this one rank in the Batman movies?
I
Underneath it,
I
obviously.
I feel like you could switch them around. Like
Okay.
there are really good things that the Dark Knight does. Like I think the Dark Knight's fight scenes are probably a little bit better
Hmm.
in this one, and like the Joker, of course, like
Yeah.
like Heath Ledger's performance is incredible in that movie, where like the Riddler's performance is incredible, but you could have replaced him with a serial killer, and like I think that's the point, is
Hmm.
that he's more of like a serial killer typed one where it's not like a psychomaniac like the Joker
Right.
is. And the Joker, of course, is always going to be like the spotlight villain for the Batman. So,
Yeah.
if we see, I'd like to see if they bring him into the next Batman, whether how they use him from there.
Yeah. That's what I was just thinking too. I mean, obviously this is doing well already and it was gonna do well. If you make another one and then you bring in the already established Joker that we got a couple of years ago and make them go head to head, you could have a movie that could be better than The Dark Knight,
Yeah,
and it could be the pinnacle of Batman movies. Um, Yeah, the couple of people I talked to, one said, they're like, this is like, if you take the Batman outfit off of Robert Pattinson, this is a detective movie about a serial killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing they said was he was in his suit for like 95% of the movie. Is that accurate?
I'd say yeah. Either 85
Okay.
or 90. Like he's in his suit a lot, but that's the whole point. Um
Right. So not so much running around as Bruce Wayne then.
no, no, not yeah. I agree with that.
Okay.
I absolutely agree with that. There is not a lot of playboy billionaire Bruce Wayne,
Okay.
which is not something he is in this movie. He
Okay.
he is a billionaire, but he is not a playboy. Um
Okay.
like it is weird to see where like Ben Affleck and so many other people who've played like the Bruce Wayne like aspect are all about like these two separate personas where Batman's all
Mhm.
dark, broody, and moody, and Bruce Wayne is like this haha, look at me, I'm rich, I'm also very charismatic. To where
Right.
like the charismatic on Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is dead. There is no charisma to him. He is
Okay.
just very broody and very dark.
Emo Batman.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I know it's killing it right now in the movie theaters. I don't know if I'll see it in theaters or not. We'll find out. But I'm excited to watch it whenever that may be. I got Uncharted and Batman now to catch up on.
Yeah, like I do want to see how you perceive it just because like and we
Mhm.
know for me I'm not the biggest movie critic. Like there's
Yeah.
rarely a movie I see that I like genuinely disdain or dislike, but I know a lot of people who are very critical on Batman films especially just
Yeah.
because he seems to be getting the most reboots out of all of the heroes. He has like the most movies out. Like it's very easy to kind of make I guess a Batman movie in a way, but I really appreciate the tone and how different it is because it feels really fresh. Of of like almost like I know it was a trilogy, but like the Batman Begins and then the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises, I know was like a trilogy. Whereas the
Hmm.
Batman Begins does a lot of the comic booky type stuff. Whereas the first iteration of this one, the Batman's already been Batman for 2 years, but Commissioner Gordon is not the commissioner yet.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a different timeline in a different way where um, Gordon is kind of like he continues to bring Batman into it because he is a very smart Batman. Like this Batman is able to solve the riddles very easily from
Okay.
the Riddler for the most part, I'll say. But it's well worth it. And Colin Farrell's Penguin, like you don't
I
know
heard it's
that's
phenomenal.
yeah, it is really good, and you have no idea that it's him. Like
Okay.
the amount of prosthetics they put on him is insane, and that makeup department and team did an incredible job. Incredible. I know in the interview in Hot Ones they were saying that like it took about 2 hours to do that makeup, and as time went on, it got shorter and shorter and shorter because you get better at
Hmm.
it as you continue to go along. So, yeah, like his performance is really good. Like all of the characters, I think, do an awesome job, and it does it deserve like the 10 out of 10 it got on IGN? I don't really know,
Okay.
but it for again for a 3 hour movie I was engrossed in the entire thing. I would not have wanted to get up, and I enjoyed the action when it came on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's more up of my alley of what I want. Like, I prefer the detective side of Batman as opposed to just the Ben Affleck. I'm huge and I'm gonna go kick the crap out of everybody. Like, I like the more like let me figure out puzzles type style. So like, it seems like this is something I would enjoy better. And I wasn't a huge fan of Ben Affleck as Batman, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I really want to see how you would rate like between the Riddler and the Joker. And
Okay.
I get that the Riddler like isn't one of Batman's like crazy like villains because
Right.
let's be honest, in the animated series he's kind of treated as a joke.
Yep.
So for them to do this like 180 of the Riddler in a way where he's not a joke and he is the main adversary in most of
Hmm.
this film just kind of goes to show how well they did him and how scary they make him.
Yeah. And they did that with what was the last Batman game? Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
They took that angle with the Riddler where in the past Batman games, he was like, "Oh, solve my riddles," and he was a joke. In Arkham Knight, he was a serial killer,
Yeah.
which is, I think that's the right angle. He should be intimidating as just a super smart guy who's just going to kill as many people as he can and gets enjoyment out of people not being able to figure it out.
Yeah. But
Cool.
yeah, I guess with that kind of, news there, like I feel like talking about the Batman's a little bit depressing in a way. I don't know because it is so dark and moody. But that's going to
Hmm.
be it for episode 100.
Sweet.
This is the end of season 2 here. This one will be out on video as I hope to have it out on Thursday, and the audio podcast out on Tuesday. But thanks for listening. If you guys liked it, please make sure to share it and review it on your listening or preferred listening platform of choice. And if you have any emails, make sure to email us at highsensitivitygaming@gmail.com. You have anything else to go out there, Craig?
Um, I don't think so. Thanks everybody for sticking with us for so long. Looking forward to season 3, getting bigger and better out there. Go check out the videos if you can. We would appreciate it. And again, thanks for being here.
Yeah, with that, we'll see you guys next time.
Later.